There are financial problems you deal with and move on from. And then there's debt. Debt isn't just a negative number. Debt literally changes how your brain works, how you think, how you make decisions, how you see the future.
I mean, debt is unpleasant, sure, but the brain? Isn't that a stretch?
Neuroscientists measured it on MRI scans. When a person thinks about their debt, the same zone activates as during physical pain. And the larger the debt, the more cognitive function changes. By the end of this video, you'll understand why getting out of debt is so hard and what to do about it.
Debt affects thinking?
Thinking, memory, decision-making, the ability to plan, all of it simultaneously. Let's start with biology. When you're in debt, the body perceives it as a survival threat, not metaphorically, literally. The same system activates as during physical danger. The adrenal glands release cortisol, the stress hormone.
Cortisol. That's the stress one.
Yes, short-term, cortisol is useful. It mobilizes the body, sharpens attention, prepares for action. But when it stays high constantly, problems begin. Chronically elevated cortisol literally shrinks the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking, planning, and self-control.
So debt shrinks the exact part of the brain you need to get out of debt.
Exactly. That's the first layer of the trap. Debt creates stress. Stress weakens clear thinking. Weakened thinking prevents good financial decisions, which leads to more debt. The circle closes. A study by the American Psychological Association found people with financial difficulties are twice as likely to suffer from depression and anxiety, not because they're psychologically weaker, but because chronic financial stress physically rewires neural pathways.
This isn't just feeling stressed, it's physiology.
Pure physiology, and this matters, not to justify inaction, but to choose the right tools for getting out. The second effect of debt is tunnel thinking. Researchers Mullainathan and Shafir described it in their book, Scarcity. When a resource is limited, whether money, time, or food, the brain focuses on that resource and stops noticing everything else.
Like a tunnel, you only see what's right in front of you.
Exactly. A person in debt thinks about debt constantly. This isn't a neurosis or a weakness. It's the brain's automatic response to scarcity. The problem is that tunnel thinking consumes cognitive bandwidth. Mullainathan and Shafir ran an experiment. They asked participants of different income levels to solve a complex logic problem, first without any context, then after reminding them of major financial difficulties. For wealthy participants, results barely changed. For those with financial stress, scores dropped by 13 to 14 IQ points. That's equivalent to a full night without sleep.
Financial stress lowers IQ?
Temporarily, yes. Attention is a limited resource. When it's occupied with money anxiety, less remains for other tasks. You don't get less intelligent. You're spending mental processing power on worry. This explains classic patterns. A person in debt misses a payment deadline because their head is elsewhere, makes rushed decisions, doesn't have time to compare options, misses opportunities. Not because they're irresponsible, but because the system is overloaded.
So, financial mistakes happen precisely when you most need to avoid them?
Exactly. Scarcity creates attention scarcity. It's one of the cruelest traps of poverty. When the brain is under chronic stress, it seeks relief. And here's the paradox. Remember from episode 5? A purchase as a source of dopamine. A purchase delivers instant relief from anxiety. That's exactly why many people with financial problems keep spending. Not because they're reckless, because the brain is looking for an exit from pain.
Spending money relieves the pain of being in debt.
Short term, yes. Long term, it makes it worse. Each purchase gives minutes of relief and adds to the debt. The vicious cycle tightens. The second mechanism is avoidance. A brain overloaded with financial stress starts avoiding everything related to money. The person stops opening banking apps, puts off checking the balance, doesn't open letters, stops thinking about budgeting. This isn't irresponsibility, it's psychological protection from pain.
I know that feeling. Better not to know what's in there.
Right, and that's understandable. But the problem is, not knowing doesn't shrink the debt. It only increases uncertainty, and uncertainty amplifies anxiety. Avoidance creates more stress, which demands more avoidance. The third mechanism is short-term thinking. Cortisol shifts the brain into here and now mode. Survival matters more than planning. Long-term goals get pushed aside. The person starts making decisions that help today but hurt tomorrow.
Like taking out another loan to cover an old one.
Classic example. In the moment, it feels like a solution. In perspective, it's a trap.
Mullainathan and Shafir described a deeper phenomenon, the scarcity mindset. When a person lives with shortage for a long time, their brain starts to perceive scarcity as the normal state of the world.
Like you get used to never having enough.
Exactly. And this conditioning shows up in very specific ways. A person with a scarcity mindset automatically evaluates everything through the lens of lack, sees threats where others see opportunities, avoids investments because what if I lose it? Doesn't take career risks because what if it doesn't work out? Remember loss aversion from episode 1? The scarcity mindset is loss aversion multiplied by chronic stress. A potential loss feels catastrophic because the margin for error is so thin.
When you have little money, every mistake costs more.
Physically and psychologically. So caution turns into paralyzing fear, and the person freezes where they are, not because they're satisfied, but because any movement feels dangerous. Another dimension, research shows that people in financial scarcity are worse at delaying gratification. Remember present bias from episode 1? Under scarcity, it intensifies. The future seems so unreliable that the brain stops investing in it.
Why save for a future you're not sure will come?
That's exactly how the brain under scarcity stress thinks. Not irrational from a survival perspective, but a trap from the perspective of escaping poverty. There's another measurable effect that rarely gets discussed. Financial stress damages relationships. Research shows financial disagreements are one of the leading causes of conflict in families. Not because money matters more than people, but because debt stress reduces patience, increases irritability, and diminishes the capacity for empathy.
Cortisol makes you more irritable?
Directly. Chronically high cortisol reduces activity in the prefrontal cortex and raises activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear and aggression center. You become more reactive, less patient, worse at controlling emotions, and this happens exactly when you need more support, not less. Debt isolates. People are ashamed to talk about financial problems. They hide the situation from loved ones. They lose support precisely when they need it most, and isolation intensifies stress. Another loop.
That explains why people rarely ask for help when they're in debt.
Shame is a powerful isolator, and it comes at a very high price.
Now, the main part, what to do about all this. Understanding the mechanisms gives you specific tools, not motivational speeches, not just pull yourself together. Approaches that work with biology, not against it. Step 1, restore the brain first. The first step isn't budget optimization. The first step is lowering cortisol. Physical activity, sleep, outdoor walks physically reduce cortisol and restore prefrontal cortex function. This isn't distraction from the problem. It's restoring the tool you'll use to solve the problem.
Walks are financial advice?
Neurobiological advice. You can't make good financial decisions with a brain in survival mode. First, exit survival mode. Step 2, fight the tunnel with a review. Tunnel thinking narrows perception. The antidote is deliberately broadening the view. Once a week, look at your finances as a whole. All debts, all assets, all income. Not to feel bad, but to see the full picture, not just the most painful point. Step 3, one debt, one focus. The debt snowball or avalanche method. Pick one debt and focus only on it. Don't try to close everything at once. That overloads the system. One victory restores a sense of control and lowers cortisol. Small progress literally changes brain chemistry.
Does paying off a small debt really help?
Research confirms. The psychological relief from closing one debt increases the likelihood the person continues with the next. A moment of success is a physical antidote to scarcity stress. Step 4, automate minimum payments. Remember from episode 6, automation removes decision load. Under debt, this is critical. Set up automatic minimum payments on all debts. This frees cognitive resources from the anxiety of don't forget to pay and reduces the risk of missed payments. Step 5, break the isolation. Isolation amplifies stress. Talking about financial difficulties with someone you trust not only emotionally relieves, but literally lowers cortisol. You don't need to announce your debts publicly. You need at least one person who knows.
A conversation lowers cortisol?
Social support is one of the most powerful biological stress regulators. Oxytocin, released during support from people close to you, directly reduces activity in the fear center. Not psychology, neurobiology. Before we finish, one important point. Our culture often frames debt as a moral failure. Should have spent less, your own fault. This is the wrong frame and it's harmful. Debt happens for many reasons. job loss, illness, crisis, lack of financial education, systemic factors. And, as we covered today, once in debt, the brain enters a trap that makes getting out harder. This isn't a character weakness, it's biology.
But that doesn't mean doing nothing.
Of course not. Understanding the mechanism isn't an excuse, it's a map. A map shows where you are and where to go. Without a map, you're just stumbling in the dark. 5 steps. Restore the brain, broaden the picture, focus on one debt, automate payments, break isolation. Not in one day, but each step literally changes brain chemistry and makes the next step a little easier. Debt isn't just a number, it's a brain state. Cortisol shrinks the prefrontal cortex. Tunnel thinking narrows perception. The scarcity mindset blocks long-term planning. The brain seeks relief through spending and avoidance and tightens the trap.
But now I have a map.
7 episodes in. Brain traps, corporate tricks, compound growth, the happiest treadmill, card psychology, system versus budget, the neurobiology of debt. You know more about your money than most people. Next video, the most common investing mistake that costs beginners $50,000. Emotional investing and panic selling. If you're thinking about starting to invest, this episode is essential.
Subscribe. Your brain and your wallet will thank you.
They already are.